Create Art Podcast. Commentary, generous. Hello, friend. This is Timothy Chemo Bryan, your head instigator for Create Art Podcast, where I bring my over 20 years, approaching 30 years actually, of experience in the arts and education world to help you tame your inner critic and create more than you consume. Now, this past December, my wife gave me these cards for creativity. It's called Kickstart Creativity, and it's run by, it's produced by Bonnie Smith Whitehouse. And it's 50 cards, 50 prompt cards to spark inspiration. And there's 3 different colors to these cards. One is an intention card, which is the blue cards. Action cards are red cards, and perspective cards are green. So today I've got a intention card, and as the title of the show indicates, it's about generosity or being generous. So let's see what this card has to say. Designer Diane von Furstenberg, and don't ask me to spell that for you, begins her day by sending out 2 emails that don't benefit her at all. She makes introductions between 2 people who might not have met yet, but who might be a great connection. Might you offer generosity today simply by introducing people to each other? Support others. Rather than criticizing, concentrate on putting energy out in the world that celebrates and amplifies someone else's work. Focus on the goal of gaining a reputation for your generosity over time. And I like that. I really enjoy the idea of being generous, of being giving. And why do I like that? Well, because I can honestly say that many people have generously given me their knowledge, their experience, and I use that in my work, in all the artwork that I do. I'm thinking initially of my good friend Heather Moon out there in Rockford, Illinois. She's a wonderful painter and illustrator and Reiki therapist, herbalist, and she does a million things. And she's a bass player as well. But she's always been a very giving person, and helping others out where they need it. And that's one of the strengths that she has. I actually, early in my painting career, if we want to call it a career, I paint like a 4-year-old on crack, I know. But she encouraged me, and she showed with me at a small gallery in Rockford. And that generous gift, obviously I'm not on the same level that she's on, but that gift that she gave to me to be shown with her, it was wonderful. Now, did she sell more paintings because she showed with me? Probably not. She might even sold less or none at all. But just having the confidence boost was a great thing. And that's something that I try to do with folks around me. That's what I try to do here in this podcast, is to give you the tools to go out there and create something from your heart, out of your mind, out of your imagination, and give you the confidence. Go ahead and do that. That's what Create Art Podcast is all about. So hopefully you are getting that by listening to this podcast. If not, let me know. Email me, Timothy@createartpodcast.com, and like in the end, like I always say, hey, what would make this a 5-star podcast for you? What do you want in this podcast? And I'm going to do my best to make that happen. I'm thinking of other generous people in my life, other generous artists. And another one that comes to mind is my nephew, Ethan. He runs a poetry reading every Friday night here in town, and he encourages people to get up and read their poetry. And that can be a very daunting task. That can be a very intimidating task. And he, takes away all the barriers, or as many of the barriers that he can, so that way people can go and express themselves. And for me, it's a great release on a Friday night after a hard week. Go and shout out poetry and have a great time with it. Thiara coffee shop here in Fredericksburg, Virginia, is very generous in that they open up their doors and allow that to happen, amongst many other things that the coffee shop does. That's one of the big things that I really enjoy about it, and that's giving of time and resources so that people can practice their art, which is a very important thing. We all need to be creating our art and feel that we can create our art and have places to create our art in. So that's just a few, generous things. Think about things that you can do that will show your generosity. You can always let people know about the podcast. That's a very generous thing. But in case you're not feeling generosity in that way, you can send me blank checks or unmarked bills, unmarked 20s and 50s, and that'd be very generous. Kidding. You don't need to do that, but hey, if you want to, I'm not gonna say no. So let's continue on with this card. So one of the things that I really like about these cards, and I think Nabani Smith Whitehouse was very generous with this, is it kind of gives you some challenges, gives you something to do, not just, oh, hey, that's a nice card, and you focus on that or you meditate on that, and that's it. This actually gives you stuff you could do. So a question that pops up on the card is, what could you do to help someone else take a step toward a dream? Now, in the show notes, you'll see that I have referenced a previous episode with Sam Thiara. We were talking about mentorship. And he gives of his time to be a mentor because he's already reached a certain level of success with his art and with what he does in life. And he's mentoring other folks so that way they can get that information and do better in their life. And that's one thing that I do. I mentor people with their art. I mentor people through this podcast. And I think, if you can help somebody else achieve their goals, their dreams, that is a very generous act that you should feel good about, and you should, pat yourself on the back for. So, what can you do to help somebody out? You can listen to them. You can spread their work to friends and family and your clients, your audience. You could, let somebody know that you really appreciate what they do. You can listen to, if you listen to a lot of podcasts like I do, you can reach out to the podcast host and say, hey, listen, I really enjoyed such and such episode. And I'm not talking about ratings and reviews. I'm talking about actually emailing the host. Or if they have, a thing where you can leave a voicemail, do that. And that's just in the podcast world. I mean, here in Fredericksburg, we have what's called First Fridays. A lot of towns have that, where the art galleries open up and you can go and meet with the artists and see their work and even buy it there. Well, if you don't have the money to buy it, going up to that artist and saying, hey, I really like this work or I like that work. You never know. They may feel generous and cut the price on it. I don't recommend that they do that, but you never know. Hey, they could be having a hard week and they're like, you know what? I want to do something nice for somebody. And, instead of charging you $500 for this, I'll charge you, $250. And there you go. And as I used to like to say, Bob's your uncle. So the next thing that they have here is compliment a stranger. Write a note of thanks, share your expertise, or be a mentor today. And, that's, again, complimenting strangers, writing a note of thanks, sharing what you know. I like to do that. I like to share what I know. And you never know what kind of connections you're going to make when you share the knowledge that you have. So definitely share something that you know with somebody. It can be as easy as that. That doesn't cost you anything. The last thing is reflect on how you might increase morale and trust within your team by supporting one another with time, opportunities, and resources. So if you're working as part of a team for an artistic goal, how can you support that team? How can you be there for other folks? Let's say you're painting a mural. Maybe you're the person that goes and makes sure that everyone has a nice hot cup of coffee, or that they have water, or you bring music that everybody enjoys. Or, you're that person that, cracks a joke and makes people smile and makes people feel good around them. That's very generous. Even if sometimes you're not feeling, like the life of the party, that can pay wonderful dividends to you by, making others around you feel good. And then that in turn, can make you feel good. I think the goal of doing something like that is not that it's going to make you feel good, but it's going to make the people around you feel good. That's where the generosity is. If you're just doing it to make yourself feel good, that's a good thing. We need to do things for ourselves to make us feel good. But, when we're being generous with somebody, with sharing our experiences and sharing our knowledge, the goal is not for us to feel good. The goal is to share the knowledge and to improve somebody else's works, improve somebody else's life. So, don't look for the outcome to be, oh, I'll feel good about myself. Look for the outcome to be that person's life is better, or that person's work is better. And, I was a small part of that. So that's what I have to talk to you about with generosity. Well, that was today's card. I appreciate you, taking a listen to this podcast, and I really appreciate the time that you put into it. And I hope you appreciate the time that I put into it. I do want to ask you a slight favor. If you got any benefit out of this, I'd ask you to go ahead and share it with a friend. Whatever app you're using, if you're on my website, go ahead and give them the website. If you're, using an app, share it through your app. There's lots of different ways, lots of different apps out there. So I'm not going to go through them all. But yeah, go ahead and share it with a friend. I don't mind. Don't mind at all. The other thing I'd like to ask of you is that if you have something going on in your neck of the woods, or if you have, a piece of art that you're working on that I can help you out with, or if you want to get your work out there to other people, I'd be happy to interview you on this show. You can email me, timothy@createartpodcast.com. And I'd be happy to get back with you and talk about it and see what we can do about that. The last thing I'm going to ask of you, and I know I'm asking a ton, and I apologize for that, but could you go ahead and email me and let me know what would make this a 5-star podcast in your eyes? I'd like to know about that. You can, a lot of the apps out there, you can comment right there on the app and leave your review or all that. And by all means, go ahead and do that. Even if it's not a 5-star, if it's a 4-star, if it's a 1-star, go ahead and do that. But what I would ask you to do, please, is to go ahead and email me Same email address, timothy@createartpodcast.com. And let me know what's going to make this a 5-star podcast for you. Now I'm going to release you to the rest of your day. I hope this was enjoyable for you. I know it was enjoyable for me. So go out there. Tame that inner critic. Create more than you consume. And go out there and make some art for somebody you love, yourself. I'll talk to you next time.